Hey folks, before I start this episode, I just wanted to let you know about something that I need to apologize for. Unfortunately, when I was recording this episode, I ran into some technical difficulties and the wrong microphone recorded the episode. It's still full of great information and you'll have no problem understanding it, but the audio quality isn't as good as normal. Sorry about that, but still, enjoy the show.
Is your magic meter running low? Well, we've got a cure for you. Welcome to Dizney Coast to Coast.
Hey folks, and welcome to Dizney Coast to Coast, the ultimate unofficial Disney fan podcast. I'm Jeff DePauli, and today on the show I have my friend Marco returning, who you may know as the Pizza Planet truck guy. Hello and welcome back, Marco.
Hi, Jeff. It's great to be back.
Thank you for coming back, and of course, if you want to hear all about Marco's Pizza Planet truck journey, which is incredible, you should go back and listen to episode 535 of Dizney Coast to Coast. It was a fun one. Yeah, as you said, you have more energy this time, because last time we'd just come from an event.
Yeah, we were out in the sun for like 3-4 hours, and it was one of those like unrelenting Burbank heat waves.
Yeah. So more energy this time, and of course, I'm having you here because Toy Story 4 just came out.
Mm-hmm.
But before we talk about Toy Story and the franchise and the fourth film and everything, I want to touch a couple of newish things that are happening in the parks, because I recently got to go to Disney California Adventure to experience the return, I was going to say the new Soarin', but the return of Soarin' over California. And you haven't experienced it yet, right?
I haven't. Last time I rode Soarin' was the tail end of the film run, so it was very, very degraded and just kind of faded and whatnot.
So that was my fear going back. It looks beautiful.
I heard it was like it's a digital transfer now, right?
I would assume so, because it looks good. The only thing I would say is, number one, it's funny because like I think we kind of all poked fun at the transitions in Soarin' around the world. It's a little jarring not having them now. So like those hard cuts,
jump cuts
are really just a little bit jarring. And I will say the movement of the camera, I didn't remember this originally when it came out, but there are moments where it's like the camera like jostles a little. It felt like it felt like popping in, your VHS tape after watching DVD for so long, or Blu-ray. And so it was interesting.
I feel like there would be no way for them to do it, but I wish that they could redo those shots like with a drone now, because instead of, no offense, helicopters.
Yeah, I don't think helicopters are going to be offended.
We're going to be alienating all of our helicopter pilot listeners.
Yeah, exactly.
Right now.
But yeah, no, it's great to have it back. It looked good, and I did wonder. I was like, is this going to, degrade, like just not look good compared to Soarin' Around the World? It looks great.
Nothing's bent.
I mean,
a few things are bent, but
there's no Eiffel Tower leaning harshly in Soarin' over California. And you had said you kind of hope this one stays.
I do. I feel like of DCA 1.0 attractions, it's probably one of the best.
Well, Disney California Adventure, I forget what the episode was about, but I was talking about how, like, that was actually, it was a Soarin' episode I did. And, like, that was the attraction to come out of Disney California Adventure, which was, admittedly by a lot of people, kind of a train wreck of a park when it first opened. And Soarin' was, like, the one thing that was, like, keep making these.
Yeah. Or
to today. Like, didn't the Shanghai one just open?
Yeah.
So.
And in Tokyo's getting one.
Yeah.
It's like.
Yeah, and Florida obviously has one. So it's crazy. I'm happy that Soarin' Around the World exists, because I never liked Soarin' over California being in Epcot, even though they changed the name. It just doesn't really make sense. Yeah. And I don't disagree. Like, I'd be okay with Soarin' over California staying. The only argument I would have is, like, the argument to keep it is it's a California theme park, so it makes more sense. But then the other argument is that park is heading so far away from that direction. Yeah. So it's like too little, too late kind of scenario.
I think, too, by keeping it Soarin' over California in California makes it so that there's no homogenization of that attraction. So it makes sense to have Soarin' over the world in Epcot, a World Showcase, Future World themed park. And maybe they could update it. Maybe they could just do flying over traffic in LA, just Walking Dead it.
When would they do that? Whenever they want. The one thing that drives me crazy about Soarin' over California, and it always has, is I don't understand. Well, I do understand. I'm sure it was a timing thing, but ending it on Main Street at Christmas
yes.
is so weird.
I think because it's probably when that is wall-to-wall people. Not that you're really noticing that it's wall-to-wall people.
I think that was actually shot after hours, like with cast members and stuff. If I'm remembering correctly, I feel like that was a scheduled thing that people went to. So I don't know. I think they just needed to get the shot, and it happened to be Christmas time, is my guess. But that always bothered me about it, and I was happy when Soarin' Around the World came. Like, great, it's Disneyland, and just always Disneyland.
So what they could do is they could do Soarin' over California during the holidays, and then there. That would be actually kind of neat. I mean, that would be an interesting study on light pollution. But the laser pointer.
Oh man, that'd be fun. In any case, Soarin' over California is back now through August, and it's nice to have it back. I also experienced The Tale of the Lion King, which is this thing that they're doing. They keep changing the names of these things. The Paradise Garden area over where you see World of Color. Yes, they put the stage out there, and they're just doing this Tale of the Lion King show. Which do you know? I know you haven't seen it yet, but have you heard about it at all?
I've heard good things. I've just heard that it's very hot in that area. And so watching the performers do their thing, you're like, oh, please give these guys some shade. Put them indoors.
Yes, the show is about 20 or 25 minutes, so it's pretty long. And there's very few benches. Like, if you get there early enough, you can certainly grab a bench, but I was standing and a lot of people were standing. The show is, I was a little surprised. It really is like the tale. Like, they tell the whole story. And, of course, there's musical numbers and stuff. It's a very meh show, in my opinion. I get it. It was there to try and pull crowds from Disneyland because of Galaxy's Edge. It's there to the 25th anniversary, and they have a new movie to promote. So it all makes sense, and I get it. And it's totally fine. No, there's nothing great about it.
Not Festival of the Lion King, not that.
Well, here's the thing. Oh, sorry. I'm not a huge fan of that.
Got it.
I like Festival of the Lion King. I'm going to get so many emails, tweets, whatever about this. I like Festival of the Lion King. But I do not get the love that people have for that. If I'm going to Disney's Animal Kingdom and I'm picking a show, it's going to be Finding Nemo. So, but are you a big Festival of the Lion King fan?
When I went last time, it was the first time I saw it. So I was like, whoa, this is neat. So I think maybe that factor played part in it.
It's interesting because with that, it's always felt like a recycled show to me. Because even the first time I saw it as a kid, which was like when that park opened, I saw it for that first time in that opening year, and I just remember having thoughts as a kid of, I remember these floats from the Disneyland parade.
Oh, God,
so it always felt like something that was kind of thrown together, kind of done on the cheap. But people love it, so hey, keep it running. People love it. It's just not my thing. So maybe, and I do love The Lion King. Like, if you're gonna ask, do you like that franchise? Yeah, I do. It's a great movie. But I don't know.
Maybe they should have done like Lion King 1.5 the stage. That would have been very, very interesting. Recently, I saw a poll where people were saying, like, what's your favorite Lion King song? Like, where's Digatana? Where's Digatana remix? Like, everyone forgets that one.
Man. I love how a lot of the stuff from the Broadway musical, I think it made its way into, like, Lion King 2 or something. And so it's interesting how, all the new music has lived on in different forms. But in any case, I just want to touch on those two things, Soarin' over California and Tale of the Lion King. But now let's jump into our conversation about the Toy Story franchise and Toy Story 4.
Grab some popcorn and silence your cell phones, because it's time for the Disney Movie Review.
So obviously, you being the Pizza Planet truck guy, this is a very busy time of year right now for you with the release of Toy Story 4.
Oh, yeah.
I know you just went on like a secret mission, shall we call it, to New York City.
Yeah. We were out in New York for about 3 weeks, and there isn't much I can say, but what I can say is that I survived driving a 4-speed pickup truck through Manhattan for an extended period of time with California plates and a sticker that said, "How's my driving? Ha ha ha." On the back. But I will say that a lot of the stereotypes about New York are not particularly true. Like, there were people who were like, a big bright yellow car that looks a little lost, we're going to let him in. And it was really interesting when driving around with the truck fully assembled. There was a lot of pictures were being taken.
Yeah.
And it was very exciting.
That's cool. And when you are able to talk about it, you'll come back on the show and tell us the entire adventure, because it's very exciting. I know you've been teasing it a little bit on social media and stuff, and yeah, hopefully a little bit later this year we'll be able to talk more about it. It's very exciting. I'm very, very happy for you. That's cool. I do want to talk a little bit just about the Toy Story franchise in general before we jump into this fourth film, because it's been kept alive. It has been 9 years, which is hard to believe. I actually just tweeted an anniversary tweet recently for Toy Story 3, which was 9 years ago, and the response from everybody was like, there is no way it's been that long, to the point that I Googled it again, because I was like, did I get something wrong? And sure enough, I was like, no, this is right. And people can't believe it's been that long. And I think it's because Disney does a really good job, or Disney Pixar does a really good job keeping these characters alive through shorts like Hawaiian Vacation, which was before Cars 2, and Small Fry before the Muppets, and Partysaurus Rex before Finding Nemo 3D re-release. And so they do a great job. And the TV specials, I'm a big fan of. Toy Story of Terror and Toy Story of the Time Forgotten. Even though they're kind of old at this point, every holiday season for Halloween and Christmas, they play them again. And it is kind of cool how these characters will never die. It's been a long journey, and we've been with these characters for a really, really long time. And it's, they're not going anywhere was the good news. Everybody talks about, even when Toy Story 3 came out, it was like, oh, this is the end of it. It's like, it's really not. And Disney's not letting us forget. Not only do they have these shorts and these TV specials, but also, there's a bunch of Toy Story lands now in the theme parks. And actually, you got to go on a cool Pizza Planet adventure for the opening of Toy Story Land at Disney Hollywood Studios, right?
Yeah, that was it's been a while.
Like a year and a half ago?
Yeah, that was I think
Wasn't it May of 2017?
I think probably last podcast I was on here with you, I think that was probably a month before we flew out.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, so it's been a while.
Yeah.
We were shipped out there for some of the opening day festivities for Toy Story Land. We teamed up with Box Lunch for their Toy Story Land tour. And we did a mall stop for 2 days, which was great because it was toasty.
Yeah.
Very toasty in Florida, which I learned very quickly since the truck still doesn't have air conditioning.
Guys, we need to fix up the Pizza Planet truck. Make it tolerable for the driver, please. So you did that Toy Story Land. I got to ask you, though, one thing that's starting to bother me with this franchise is just timeline stuff. I'm a consistency guy, and frankly, this is an issue with every theme park, attraction, land, whatever. It's when in the story does it take place? And at Toy Story Land, it's Andy's backyard. I'm just a little why still?
I think just because Andy's been in the movies for, we can say 3 movies, but we can also say 2.5, where he was actively playing with them. And I think unless they do make another one with Bonnie being the main owner, maybe that timeline could change. I think it's just, I think because the generation that grew up with the movies is very much attached to Andy, and everyone would be like, wow, who's this Bonnie lady? Or
it's just kind of interesting to me. If you look at Star Wars Galaxy's Edge in comparison, it's no, the old Star Wars characters don't exist here. It's all about the new Star Wars characters. And they seem to be doing the opposite with Toy Story. So it's kind of interesting.
It might just have to do with the age difference. I don't think you're going to have the die-hard.
The little kids aren't going to care.
Yeah, little kids aren't maybe when they're 7 or 8, they're probably going to notice and be hold on a second, and then that's when you open the world to here is active theming in theme parks.
Yeah,
and then that'll turn them into a little Imagineer. But I don't think you're going to have the rabid fan base of Star Wars, and I mean that affectionately. For Toy Story, you're not going to have anyone who's who are all these female characters? What's going on here?
But there definitely seems to be in the world of Toy Story that they want to keep, a young boy Andy as kind of the main owner of these toys, which is interesting. So they could go in a lot of different directions, especially since at this point, God, how many Toy Story lands are there? 4 of them or something? There's a lot.
Yeah.
So I feel like they had opportunities to kind of do different versions or different timeline pieces. I don't know. That's just me being a weirdo geek about this thing.
I feel like they could do expansions where it's I would love to see Bonnie's Hat Shop as a little store or something, in-world store. I think that could work. A doll,
but not in Andy's backyard. I mean, so that's they've kind of painted themselves into a corner.
Future expansion opportunities.
In any case, there's that, and then for the promotion of Toy Story 4, they've done some pretty cool things. They've been doing gameplay in the Disney stores. I don't know if you've experienced any of that.
When we were in
Times
Times
Square.
Square,
Does that
yeah.
still have the Disney store?
Yeah, I think they were doing a Star Wars one, but that was that's an interesting thing that they're doing in Disney stores, where it's like they're playing.
Yeah, they're playing games, and you win stickers, and of course you can also buy special items and such. But so they're doing like big stuff like that. Also over in Singapore, was it? Yeah, they threw a carnival
Mm-hmm.
at Gardens by the Bay, a family-friendly nature park in central Singapore. That's a huge promotional item. Like they're doing big stuff for Toy Story 4.
And then they teamed up with Cruise America. Did you see that they did?
I didn't see that.
There was a Canadian tour and there was an American tour where they were touring with a Toy Story 4 branded RV and a like activity center and photo opportunities, as well as a full-size replica of Duke Kaboom's motorcycle.
Oh wow!
And I was like, by the time that I got back from New York, they were already away from the West Coast.
Oh wow!
And I was like, no, I really wanted to see that.
Yeah, I feel like we've been hearing about this movie for a very long time. In fact, it went through a lot of change. John Lasseter was the original director, right?
I think.
Like, that was the big announcement. When they announced this at D23, if I'm remembering correctly, it was, okay, there's going to be a Toy Story 4. Shocker number 1. Shocker number 2, John Lasseter was going to be directing it again. And then he got pulled off the project long before all the stuff went down. But he got pulled off, I think a female director came on or something. I maybe remember. There's been changes.
There's been a lot going on in the background. Yeah, Rashida Jones was on the writing team.
Yeah,
and then
she walked away from it, right?
After the Lasseter fallout, we'll just call it that.
Yeah,
and then Josh Cooley was put on the helm. I think he was put on the helm early enough that it's his stamp.
Yeah,
it's like there's this zippiness to the humor.
Yeah, so it's been through a lot of changes. I gotta ask though, when you first heard Toy Story 4, let's pretend you don't own a Pizza Planet truck, because I'm sure anytime there's anything new Toy Story, you're like, oh great, this is great for my little my little hustle here. But as a big Toy Story fan, what were your feelings when you heard, oh, there's going to be a Toy Story 4?
I was skeptical.
Yeah.
I was cautiously optimistic, I would say. I think Toy Story 3 ended very well. But I was very happy to see the shorts and the specials. Like, you want to be back in that world. You want to make sure those characters are okay.
Yeah.
So the more I heard about the story, I was like, okay, they're going to search for Bo Peep. This is going to be that kind of story. I'm like, okay, that sounds like a story I'd want to hear. And I think, no, I was excited once more details came out of it. Initially, it was just kind of a raised eyebrow, kind of,
yeah.
What more is there to tell? And
it was interesting when they announced it. I was definitely had the same feeling of skepticism, but then I was like, to be honest, I was always like, okay, like Toy Story 2 is not going to be better than 1, and it was. And then Toy Story 3 is not going to be better than 2, and it was. At least in my opinion. And so I was like, well, if they're doing a 4...
they're not going to move ahead with an idea that isn't 110%.
But I do think the idea changed a lot, because I remember initially hearing this is really about Woody and Bo Peep, which it is, but like Forky, unless they were just keeping it under wraps, I feel like he was kind of at it a bit later as like another story element.
Yeah, it wasn't the marketing campaign definitely was very Forky centric.
Yeah,
and I think,
which, by the way, it's tangent real quickly. You know how people are stealing the sporks at Star Wars Galaxy's Edge? I mean, there's an opportunity. Is all I'm gonna say. Forky sporks, or in the parks.
Yeah.
I also saw they're selling plastic sporks at the Tropical Hideaway for $2.99.
Oh, they're
at Disneyland Park, and I'm like, you're selling a plastic one for $2.99. Why are they not selling these metal ones at Galaxy's Edge? I know they've been removed completely at this point, I think, but I can't believe they're not just like selling $9.99. If you can charge $2.99 for a plastic one, $9.99 for a metal Galaxy's Edge.
They could have done an entire like Batuan mess kit.
Yeah,
like
absolutely,
full on like in universe.
They could eventually. Anyway, sorry, tangent. We're talking about Forky.
No, it's funny because some people are like, Forky, oh, this is Forky's story. And then when I saw the movie, I was like, Forky kind of like, he doesn't take a back seat, but he just kind of like, he's on the outer edge of the main story. And it's like his impact is felt throughout the whole movie. Like it sets everything off, and it also just evolves. It's not just like, oh, he caused trouble and then they save him. Like, I was glad that they did it that way.
Yeah.
I was surprised. Like I went in and I saw the day before it came out.
Yeah.
With a friend of mine, and the crowd reaction was really neat. There were a lot of big laughs, and like we'd probably have to watch it again to hear the.
Yeah, I do feel like it was funnier than some of the others. It was very funny. A lot of good laugh out loud moments. And I do want to give a quick shout out to my friend Pablo, who said you better shout out me on the show and say that you went to see it with me. So Pablo, shout out to you. Thanks for going to see Toy Story 4 with me. But I do want, before we even jump into the film, how did you feel about, a lot of people had strong feelings about no short before this movie.
Yeah, I was surprised that there wasn't a short. I feel like shorts are. I'm not sure what they're going to do with.
Oh,
that.
because Disney Plus is doing a whole shorts thing.
Yeah.
So there's going to be like new homes for shorts. I feel like.
Yeah. So I remember every time that I would go, like since I think like probably like in recent memory, like probably like at least pre-Finding Dory, I remember like every time I go into the theater, I'm like watching the trailers, and then you'd feel that kind of relief that everyone kind of that major exhale the whole audience does when the previews are over, and then the logo shows, everyone's like, oh cool, and then it's a short, and there's that weird like tense moment where everyone's like, am
I in the right theater?
What's going on here? And I that would be the only like downside of the shorts that I ever saw, where I was just like, it confused the audience for a split second, and then everyone would go, oh wait, this is the short, this is the Pixar short.
Well, there was the big controversy with Coco and the Frozen short, Frozen Ever After, right? And that I've talked about. I thought it was a ridiculous complaint that people have when that came up, but I've spoken to a lot of people with like younger children who are like, you don't understand. To get my kids to sit through a movie is a task in and of itself. So everything you add on top of that is just waiting for the bomb to go off, you know? And so with 20 minutes of trailers, which 20 minutes is pretty normal these days, and plus a short, plus the film, I kind of get it. I will say I see more and more and more with like most movie theaters now having the assigned seats. I even see myself doing this. I'll be running late. I'm like, I don't care. I get 20 minutes to get in there. And I just see people showing up later so that they don't have to, wonder if their kid's going to go off or not. So I get it, the no short thing, as long as there's a home for them. Because I think shorts are like really great as far as developing technology and bringing up new talent and such. So if Disney Plus is the new home for it, I'm cool with that. But there were a lot of people very upset about the fact that there was no short before Toy Story 4.
I'm just trying to think of like maybe with the production schedule that they're running now, where they're doing like with Onward and Soul coming out next
within
year.
3 months of each other.
Because I feel like the shorts were always like, they weren't like unnecessary. They were extra. They were like, if you have time, okay, and they were pulling people from main production to work on that kind of stuff. So now with they're doing one major franchise film a year and 2 originals, it's like that all hands on deck for those.
Like, they're busy. Yeah. And so let's start right at the beginning of the film. I gotta say, I always love to see what they do with the Castle logo and the Pixar logo and stuff. I loved it. Go ahead.
I loved it. They had like a full on like Woody's Roundup like orchestral over the Disney logo and everything. It was great. It just made you go, I'm ready for this. It was.
Yeah, and even more so, I think the Pixar one, where you see Luxo come jumping out, doing his thing, hopping on top of the eye. But then the rain starts.
Jeez, man, yeah,
it was cool. Right into the movie. The logo. It starts raining in the logo, and then there's a flash of lightning, cut to black, and then rain outside, and right into the movie. It was cool. It was a great transition. I think those are so much fun. I know there are people who kind of like edit them all together and put them on YouTube and stuff, and I love those. And if you're one of the folks out there listening who do that, keep doing it because I think it's great. I honestly, that could. All kidding aside, that could be a Disney Plus show. In my opinion, like, I don't know if a show would be the right word, but like, if you just had a quote-unquote short of just all of the logos rotating, boom. I would
screensaver.
There you go. I would absolutely have that on in the background while I was like, I love it. I love it. Probably more than I should. But it's fantastic. So, awesome start to the movie. But then the movie starts, I shouldn't say but then because it's all great, but the movie starts and a noticeable different look, yeah?
The most photorealistic rain you'll ever see, at least maybe for at least 5 years, for a while. Like, it's just...
It is, and I just had this conversation with a future guest on Disney Coast to Coast, but I'm kind of over it. I'm like... first of all, as a person who enjoys continuity, it looks drastically different than the first movie. I don't think you would necessarily pick up on that unless you were watching them side by side. But like one feels like an animated film and one not as much. It's a little weird to me. I'm also just I get it. You can make things look real. I'm very impressed. Let's start making artistic choices again. It's kind of how I feel. But having said that, like it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's real. You know. So I don't know what the next step is for animation. But are you a fan of that look, or do you wish it felt more like the original film?
I think it's neat that you can see what the technology can do.
Sure.
I think any artistic choice to like dampen or hyper realistic or to like they talk about how like even the dust in the antique shop they're like we simulated real dust and it was too big. So there's these tweaks that they probably do where like we're not looking at it through that technological eye, and so we're not going to know until we hear about it. And then when we hear about it, we go, oh, okay. So there probably are like artistic choices done that just for them to not stand out like a cell shade or something like that is probably just more just we're not in the industry kind of thing. I think.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not my preference anymore.
I get you.
But so there's an opening montage where we see Andy through the ages, and even before the film came out, because this was in the trailers and such, that was a conversation. People were like, Andy looks different. What's going on? And it's I guess like they have to change, right? Like because they'd be dumbing down.
If you rendered first movie Andy with the technology, you go, he looks a little odd.
Yeah.
Like
so that's like a weird thing to have to deal with, right? Like that's kind of probably something you don't think about when you're making the original films. Like, oh, we're gonna have to go back and redesign these characters slightly.
I'm trying to think of like another movie that they. I mean, like.
Maybe did Incredibles? Did they have to do anything like that?
Tony Redinger, the Violet's love interest, the boy, he changed looks.
Okay.
He changed looks drastically, where he was a little more square-headed, auburn hair, I think, and they switched it up. But also too, it was just like that was the first time they did people.
Yeah.
And you watch that movie, and you're like, ooh, they look a little rough.
Yeah.
And just because it's a 20-year-old film.
Totally. Yeah. It's interesting. So Andy looked a little bit different. I know Bo Peep went through some changes as well, and. I will say, so I am like a fan of the Toy Story franchise. It's not something I watch on repeat a ton, so I'm not like super, super, super familiar with them. But as a person who is not that familiar, watching the new one, it's not like jarring.
Right.
It's if you watch them side by side where it's noticeable. So like job done, I guess, is the point with that. But the opening montage was super cool, just kind of seeing. We've been on quite a journey with these characters, and it's been a long time. And Tim Allen and Tom Hanks have been doing these characters for a long time. Like that's got to be wild for them. And then you kept hearing these stories coming out, like, oh, it was so emotional for them to record the final scene and stuff. Did you get super emotional during this movie?
I did a couple times. What I keep telling my friends when they ask, they're like, "What did you think of it?" I go, "Toy Story 3 hit me harder."
Yeah,
and I think it was just because. I was the same age as Andy. I was at that point in my life where I was like, okay, like maybe I'm too old for this stuff, and that's right when we started doing the truck. But besides that, I think like that movie had a lot more gut punches. This one had moments, and I still got emotional over it. But I don't think I was the like inconsolable mess that I was at the near climax of Toy Story 3. And I think that was just because it's not that the stakes weren't as high in this one, but I think it was just a different.
Yeah, it was. Listen, we're going to be spoiling some stuff here, so if you have not seen the movie yet and don't want anything spoiled, I guess I'd say hit pause and come back. But at the end of this film, there's a really big goodbye between Woody and Buzz, who have been together for a long time, and there's a great moment. I love the throwback to when Woody is telling Forky the story of Buzz Lightyear, and he's like, he thought he was a real. So like, just really great moments like that. I was like, yeah, we have had quite a journey with these characters, and they have grown quite a bit. And I don't know if that was like intentional or not within the storytelling. It could have just been for the comedy, but I was like, it just kind of made me realize, like, yeah, well, like Buzz Lightyear's kind of grown quite a bit through these films, and seeing a friendship like that end. is it's a hard thing to watch, but at the same time, like I'm just like they're gonna get back together.
Somehow
there's gonna be a short. There's gonna be a
they'll
TV
visit.
special.
There'll be something.
Yeah. So
I hope.
do you think that 4 is the beginning of a new trilogy? Because I still consider 1 through 3 a trilogy. Honestly, like to me, even though they weren't originally planned that way, 3 is the end of 1 and 2. 4 is. Do you think it's the beginning of a 4, 5, 6?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't want to put anything on the record and be proven wrong. No, I don't know. I think it would just. I think it sends those characters off into different trajectories, and maybe we'll get double the shorts or double the specials or something. I think it'll be.
I mean, I haven't heard anything about this, but it seems kind of obvious. There could easily be a Toy Story TV series for Disney Plus.
That would be a very interesting change. If they did that, I think it would be interesting to watch. But I think to keep that cast together, or you'd have to do like a limited series.
Yeah,
you'd be like, this is a two seasons.
Only. Yeah. You know who I think we're going to see a lot more of are what are their names? Bunny and
Ducky and Bunny.
I think that we're going to see a lot of them. I think there's going to be a lot of shorts featuring them. I think they're not going anywhere. Yeah. I think we could even see their origin story or something in some way, shape, or form.
So I think what was interesting with comparing 3 to 4 is that 3 was an ensemble, very much like about them, and then 4 shifted. It was very much a Woody-centric story.
Yeah, I mean, even Buzz was pretty small role in this film.
And even they introduced a lot of new characters, but even those new characters were like, they weren't on the fringe, but they were very much. They were like the way I'm describing it makes it sound unnecessary, but they weren't. They were definitely they had their purpose, but it was very, very Woody-centric, more so than it's probably been since
ever.
Yeah,
I would say ever. It's never been that Woody centric. So yeah, I would completely agree. And that was interesting. And there's a character that is in it. I want to talk about this character just because I love it so much. In the film, very little for a pretty obvious reason, and that's Mr. Potato Head.
Mm-hmm.
I am a huge Don Rickles fan. I think he's fantastic. I've met him in Vegas. He was doing a show. Long story short, he was doing a show. I literally flew out to Vegas with a buddy of mine at the time just to see Don Rickles because he was getting older. I was like, I don't know how many more opportunities we'll have. And I was in the audience before the movie, and are you familiar with Don Rickles? Like, aside from his whole like insult comedy, which is just so funny. And so there's a great documentary about him called Mr. Warmth, the Don Rickles Project. And I'd seen the documentary, and in that documentary they interview his manager a lot. And I'm sitting in the audience at his show, and before the show I recognize his manager. And so I go up to him, I'm like, hey, my buddy and I, we literally flew out here like for our birthdays to see Don Rickles. Is there any chance we can meet him after the show? And he was like, yeah, just hang out in the audience and I'll come get you. So like we're in this lineup of all these like famous people waiting to meet Don Rickles, and we're of course the last ones. Mm-hmm. And they bring us into his dressing room, and there he is sitting there. Couldn't have been nicer, which I was not surprised at all by, but it is just so funny considering he's an insult comic. Mm-hmm. The nicest guy. And because we were last, we like weren't being rushed. And he was just so pleasant with us. And it was just so nice because I was such a fan of his, am such a fan of his. And like to have met him and him being so nice and incredible. So I got to be honest, like the most heartfelt moment for me watching this movie was at the end when it was, I don't even know why I was surprised by this. It just makes sense. But the film was dedicated to his memory. And I was like, that was like, that was the moment for me. And it's great that all of this to just say that I love the fact that they used his voice still, even though he had passed away. They had plenty of takes, very much like Robin Williams and the Genie. They had plenty of takes of him to use. And honestly, Mr. Potato Head probably spoke 3 or 4 times. Mm-hmm. It wasn't very often. So I just love the fact that he was kept alive in that way. I don't know what I want to happen with that character in the future. Like, there's a part of me that wants him to live on, but then there's also a part of me that just wants him to remain silent.
He loses his mouth.
Yeah. Oh, hey, that's actually really smart.
What happened to your mouth? And it's one line, and you're covered. There you go.
Yeah, that would be great. Have you thought of it, or did you just come up with that?
While you were talking, I was there going like, oh. pitted to. What could we do? How can we keep him there?
Yeah, well, I definitely don't want to see the character go away.
Right.
But and honestly, I'd even be okay with them replacing the voice actor. But I love Don Rickles is what it all comes down to. I remember that something similar happening with the Muppets with Scooter. What was he? He was the nephew of the Muppet Theater's
stage manager.
Yeah, or owner. The Muppet Theater owner's nephew, I believe. And when his puppeteer passed away, whose name I'm blanking on, and I feel terrible about that. But when he passed away, they retired that character. And for a very long time, we never saw Scooter in the Muppets universe whatsoever. And then I think it was after Disney bought the Muppets that he returned in, maybe it was the 2011 Jason Segel Muppet film. And it was jarring to see him back. I was kind of like, I liked the respect of retiring the character. So, yeah. What was the actor's name?
Richard Hunt?
Richard Hunt, that's who it was. Yeah. And Scooter's such a fun character. In any case, kind of like that, I would say. So we'll see what happens with Mr. Potato Head in the future. And actually, as I was at Disney California Adventure yesterday, I just kind of like had a moment at Midway Mania and stopped and watched that animatronic. And gosh, there's so much recorded material of Don Rickles. And at I think it was D23, there was conversation about, I think it was a panel about Toy Story Mania, and they played a lot of outtakes of Rickles. This was several years ago, and gosh, it was great stuff. It was just so good. In any case, sorry to go on that tangent, but happy to see Mr. Potato Head still being performed by Don Rickles. That was awesome. Got to ask you. I know the answer to this. Did you find the Pizza Planet truck?
Yes.
Okay. It is?
It is on the left calf of the carny when he steps out of the porta potty after Buzz goes through his little flight to the carnival. And I was surprised by that because I had heard that like it's a blink and you miss it, which it usually is. Someone described it as that, but then I was thinking about it, looking back at all the movies. So I think this is the second. This is me just rattling off. This is the second time that the truck has appeared in one of the shorts or movies where it wasn't actually a truck. So it appeared in Toy Story of Terror, I believe, as a calendar.
Okay.
And I think this marks the first time where it's not in like a truck 3D shape. Like you can sit there and go, like, it was a wooden carving in Brave, but like, it was always an object.
An object, yeah. Whereas this is a drawing or something. Yeah, I was not keeping my eye out for it, but I immediately caught it. It was like obvious, but also quick.
Yes,
so,
very quick.
Yeah.
I was very surprised by that.
And you'll be happy to hear the first person I thought it was you. I was like, oh, okay. So yeah, that was cool to see that little tribute, of course, that they throw in all of their Pixar movies, which is cool. There was also, did you catch the Up tribute?
The painting in the antique store?
Or no.
There's
the Grape Soda
yes.
Which was really interesting and very random. When was this? This is when Bo Peep was grabbed Woody and they're like traveling in the fake skunk
mobile.
Yeah,
that's another vehicle we could.
Oh,
a full-size skunk mobile. That would be
actually. This is not a terrible idea. You don't need a full-size one because it wasn't a full-size one in the movie. You need to make a remote control skunkmobile to bring along with your Pizza Planet appearances.
It's kind of cruising around. That's a good idea. Gonna write that check.
Yeah, there we go. There, I'll take it. Take it off. Take the money, fix the truck. Yeah. There we go. We're even. So that was cool. What did you think of Forky?
At first, I think he was made at the very beginning to be not a grading character, but like his whole like trash over and over. Like you're supposed to go.
That was one of the funniest moments.
It was a great gag.
His suicidal trash jumps were hilarious, and Tony Hale is hilarious.
And being able to do both the very simple, like you're delivering a comedic line with literally one word, and then have him evolve into the character he became later. It's like it's a good, it was amazing range. And I think at the beginning you're supposed to get frustrated with that character, and he's supposed to grow on you. And had it been handled by maybe like a lesser team, it would have been an annoying character. And they did a great job at showing that evolution. And like I liked in the montage with on the road trip the Randy Newman song.
Yeah,
I won't let you throw yourself away.
I will say music not super memorable in this one, at least not for me. Each of the previous 3 films had a very memorable song. You Got a Friend in Me in the first one, When She Loved Me second one, and then the third one was We Belong Together. Very memorable. I honestly can't remember the new music from Toy Story 4.
I think it was just I Can't Let You Throw Yourself Away and the Ballad of the Lonesome Cowboy, which was over the credits.
Yeah.
I during that whole montage, I loved how they were stretching their like almost. It was very much a cartoon stretch, like the way Woody was like yoink yoink, and just like catching him real quick, and these really fast double takes they were doing. It was a lot of zany humor there.
Yeah, I liked that character, and once again, I think he'll have life. Especially, I will say with this film, sit through the credits.
Yes.
Because we are introduced to a new character. Did they call it Knifey? I don't even know if they gave it a name, but
I don't know if they could get away with that.
You like
this is Knifey. I don't know, it's one of those like it just sounds like a name that wouldn't be approved on a board. All right, we've gotten this character that's a knife. What do we call him? Knifey. Big action.
Well, I will say. I think Forky, the name Forky, kind of drove me nuts because it should have been Sporky.
I wonder, is Spork like copyright?
Oh.
Is there like the Spork company?
I don't know.
I wonder if it's like the Band-Aid adhesive bandage situation.
I don't know. That's a very good question. I don't know the answer to. But Google it. Go ahead.
I'm going to look it up.
Go Google it, and we'll find out if Spork. That would make sense, and honestly, that would be a good reason to name him Forky. But I did think that like the whole time. I'm like, okay, we've got Forky, who's a spork. But he was a likable character, I think very much due to, Tony Hale's fantastic performance. If you don't know Tony Hale, you might know him from Arrested Development or Veep, he's very big on. Or if you love the greatest film of 2018, Love, Simon, he plays the vice principal of the school as well. So he was wonderful. I also love the introduction of the scariest characters ever in a Toy Story film that had me rolling laughing so hard, and that is the dummies in the antique store. Something straight out of a Goosebumps story. So their movements are so just think of a typical, dummy that a ventriloquist would use with all of the limbs dangling and just
the ankle tipped at that angle where he's like, but he's not a person. Okay, it's okay. Oh gosh, like you would just reel at it. It was
so weird, and I immediately thought to myself, I want these characters in the Boo to You parade at Mickey's Mouse Scare Halloween.
Yes.
Like I loved these characters. I mean, listen, it's no secret. I love horror. I love Halloween, and to me, they screamed both Halloween and horror.
He's such a fun unit of like contortionists or something, just kind of scooting their way down a parade route.
I picture kind of like large puppets or something, but it was they were incredible, absolutely incredible.
So when I saw the movie, I saw it in Dolby Cinema, so we have the Atmos with the.
Yes, I did that as well.
There was a point where there's a really loud sound behind you, and I legitimately jumped in my seat because it was when they were being chased and like something. I haven't jumped that much in a Pixar film. I don't think ever. Like I was like, oh, okay, like that chase and like when they were being chased by those dummies was quite terrifying. And they were like a good 3 like not jump scares, but very like. That rear window looking right at the camera, you've been spotted with the orchestral hit. You're just like,
totally.
Yeah.
Those characters will give nightmares to children. Like, there's no question about it. Kind of want them to sell that doll.
I think, I don't know if they do. There's probably going to be like a legacy collection. Like, wow, what if they made like an actual, like, because they did that, didn't they do, or they did the old style Woody for Toy Story 2, right, where he had the little like ventriloquist lines.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't think he was actually a marionette. Like, there's an
idea. Those toys were more terrifying than anything that Sid ever created. Yeah. Loved it. Loved it. Any news about the Spork?
Spork is registered as a trademark in the U.S. and U.K. Decades later, but the original date is 1874. So I'm curious as to who owns the Spork.
Who owns Spork, man?
And why didn't they?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. Alrighty. And what else do you want to talk about Toy Story 4? What were some of your favorite moments or
just just like all of the new characters that were introduced and how they were perfectly balanced, and there really wasn't one that like, there's always one person who's like, I liked all these characters, but this one, like, Giggle McDimples, Duke Kaboom. Can we talk about Duke Kaboom?
Is that the stunt driver?
Yeah.
So that was Keanu Reeves, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which was like a big deal when they were dribbling out like the voice talent for this, and people were very excited about Keanu Reeves being in this movie. Keanu Reeves is interesting as a performer, because I feel like he's gotten to this point of kind of realizing that he's like this. He's a thing.
I think so. Like, I think Sad Keanu was the start of that, and like, whoa, he was very internet heavy, and even before that, and when he was Matrix, and we can go real back. We can go back to the Babes in Toyland TV special I posted. Wow. We'll talk about that later.
Wow.
But I think like now he realizes that he's got. I mean, it's like he's funny.
Yeah,
he's a funny dude.
He seems to not take himself too seriously, which is such an appealing quality to me. And he's kind of like in that Chris Pratt territory these days, where like they just like have fun, playing these caricatures of themselves. Mm-hmm. And I just saw the worst movie that Keanu Reeves is in on Netflix. It's called SPF 18. He's barely in it, but that actor Nick Centineo, who's like huge right now, he's doing all those Netflix movies. In fact, the rumor is. Oh gosh, what did I just hear? The rumor was he might be Prince Eric in Little Mermaid live action.
Keanu Reeves?
No.
Oh,
this Nick Centineo.
Oh, okay.
That's the rumor. But in any case, or Noah Centineo. I'm saying the wrong name. Noah Centineo. Some teenage girl's yelling at me for getting the wrong name right now. Noah Centineo is he was in this SPF 18. If you want to see the worst like 65 minutes or 85 minutes of your life, watch this movie. And Keanu, they're living in his beach house, and then he shows up at the end. Horrible.
Okay.
Like, horrible. Not even fun horrible, just horrible. In any case, so Keanu is doing stupid stuff like that as well.
Yeah. And did you watch that clip of the recording? Like, they have all that B-roll, the actors doing their lines, and it's like,
no, is this online?
Yeah, it's weird. It never is uploaded officially, and I don't know where some of these channels are getting it. But it's like, here's 20 minutes of Tom Hanks and Tim Allen.
No kidding.
We can pull that up later. But it's like Keanu is like doing all like the groans and grunts of being a Canadian stuntman. I like that they did cover. They kind of covered it with Buzz with the whole expectation versus reality with the toy. But it's just like we've all had that toy that you thought was going to go very fast, and it did not.
That was funny.
I can't make the jump, man. I can't do it.
Now, who was the character? Is it Commander Carl or
Combat Carl?
Combat Carl with the high fives.
Yes.
Dude, this running gag. So there are 3 Combat Carl figurines.
It's like regular Combat Carl, like a snowsuit Combat Carl, and like there's like orange safety suit, and like winter white.
Yeah.
Poor little. Oh man, you heard the whole theater just go, "Oh no!" And you're like, it was very well done in that.
Yeah, so the character keeps raising his hand for a high five and just keeps getting denied over and over, just ignored.
Yeah.
Sit through the credits. He gets his high five from
Duke Kaboom.
From Duke Kaboom at the end.
I wouldn't have minded if like they do more
spin-off.
Yeah, Duke Kaboom and Combat Carl. Oh,
listen, actually, that is the way to deal. If they wanted to do a series on Disney Plus and not have to worry about this extreme amount of talent that they have, they could focus on all the different characters.
Combat Carl, the series would be a lot of fun. Carl Weathers.
There's a lot of opportunities with the franchise to keep it alive, I feel like. And somebody made a comment to me that I honestly didn't notice and didn't even think of. But they're like, wow, Woody's sounding aged.
Yeah, well, they were talking about too, like, I think it's good that they're acknowledging that time has passed. Mm-hmm. I think like I didn't notice it when watching the movie, but I guess if you watch it again, like Buzz's stickers are kind of peeling,
cool,
scuffed, and it's like,
I like that a lot.
Yeah, but it's like when you think about like, so Woody as a toy has had the snot kicked out of him.
Yeah,
his arm ripped.
Sure,
he's had his entire voice box removed, but deftly sewn together back together by a dummy. Mm-hmm. Which would be, I don't know if I would trust. I don't think that man has a medical license. Went to medical school, but so that is something they would probably have to either decide, like, are these characters going to eventually sound older? Like, did Chuckles always sound like Bud Lucky.
Yeah, I don't know if a toy's voice would age, but I guess the comment to me, obviously Tom Hanks has aged because he's a real human, and the voice changes through time. And I know his brother does the voice of Woody a lot.
He does it for, I think, the toys and commercials, the actual voice.
How about the theme park stuff?
I think so. I think so, because I think Midway Mania isn't 100% Tom Hanks, but probably a Hanks.
Okay, so Tom Hanks' brother sometimes does the voice of Woody, so it's interesting that like maybe we're hearing two different versions of Woody. Like I said, it wasn't noticeable to me. It was just a comment somebody I know made, and I was like, oh, that's interesting, and something I hadn't really thought about. But yeah, that makes sense. Even Woody is, Buzz Lightyear rather, isn't it sometimes Patrick Warburton?
Yes. Oh man.
For like the animated series,
yes,
I think, right?
Yeah, Buzz Lightyear Starman. Now that's somebody tweeted about how that series needs to be on Disney Plus. Did you watch that growing
Well, it was a VHS thing, right?
There was a movie where Tim Allen did the voice of Buzz for the straight to video movie of that, and then that was like the kicker for the series. And that series opened this really neat world. It was like that series. There's another one where it's just like, I'm glad this exists, that they have all these.
Well, it was very Woody's Roundup, right? Like, it was Buzz Lightyear was Buzz Lightyear. He wasn't a toy.
Right.
Whereas, Woody's Roundup would be a similar thing if they decided to do that, which would be kind of interesting. But yeah, these characters, at the end of the film, as we mentioned, Buzz and Woody say goodbye to each other so that Woody can stay with Bo Peep. And correct me if I'm wrong, the last words in the film proper, were to infinity and beyond.
Yeah.
Which was like, it was definitely a moment of, wow, okay.
Yeah, they really tied it in together. It's just that I think they played up your expectations in the best way. It's like, to me, like when you're successful in a film, if you're riding on every word. So when Buzz walks up and says like, she'll be okay. Yeah. And then and it's like Buzz in his normal way. He goes, wait. Bonnie will be okay. And you're just like, oh, it's a good moment.
It's a good chill-inducing moment.
Yeah.
And, and it's believable as well because, as we learn early in the film, Woody's kind of become a forgotten toy to Bonnie. Yeah. Woody isn't to Bonnie what he was to Andy. And so the idea of, the entire film, it's a lot of the film is Bonnie being upset about her favorite toys being lost, whether it's Forky or I feel like there's some others that go away at some point that she's worried about. And like, she's never like, where's Woody? So the reality is she probably wouldn't even notice he was gone, and or if she did, wouldn't care all that much.
And I think like in 3, like she mentions my cowboy, but it's like she's getting older. She's first grade. It's like you're gonna have like
Plus she wants that cowgirl, which she has in Jessie, and we see that moment where when she Bonnie takes the sheriff pin off of Woody and puts it on Jessie. And it kind of had those feelings of the first film where, Buzz comes in and for a while becomes Andy's new favorite toy. And, you feel a little bad for Woody in that sense. And it's interesting because the same thing happens in Toy Story 4 with Bonnie, but Woody handles it
much better. And that's what's so cool about the series is that, like, you see, like, a new toy is introduced, Forky, that's the favorite, and how Woody handles it completely differently, where he's like, okay, here's what this is, because
I never even thought about this. Is it the same movie?
No, don't do that.
Is this like Jurassic World and Star Wars Episode 7?
No, it's the same movie if the characters were more mature, which I don't think is what happened with the other one.
Okay.
Because that would be like Jurassic. That would be like if Jurassic World, they're like, oh no, we've made a crazy dinosaur, and it's like, well, we better double the guard then and not put some crazy guy. If they learn their lesson
from their mistakes. but it is new people making the same mistakes. But it is pretty parallel though. I hadn't thought about that. But yeah, I like how Woody's matured in that way. It's interesting.
Gabby was an interesting. So
Gabby I knew was trouble from the start.
Right.
I was like, oh, this girl cannot be trusted. Especially with these dummies as her friends.
Yeah, exactly. I think too. So
the dummies pushing the cart. Oh my gosh, the visuals of this. Whoever designed that character, spot on. Oh man, amazing.
I think what's good is did it break the streak of the villain in plain sight, or not the hidden villain?
Yeah,
Whereas like this one's just like, oh yeah, she comes in to like this foreboding theme with a crazy, broken ankle dummy. And I think
broken ankle dummy.
I think it was good though that the way they handled her, because even with Woody looking back, like when she fell into the crate, it's like he could have left. It's like, and in other movies, it's every character had this fully fleshed out story, and they, in the end, there's been a little bit of criticism and critique with that, but what film doesn't?
Yeah.
The fun detail that someone pointed out is if you watch the clip online of like them introducing Gabby, you can see her eyes are actually weighted like one of those dolls would be. So when she bobs her head and they kind of settle.
Yeah.
And it's just little details.
Yeah, no, I did notice that, and I was like, wow, this, it's the whole realism thing once again. So, any case, anything you want to add about Toy Story 4 before we jump to some trivia?
While we were talking, I was looking up the IMDb, and I cannot find anyone named Knifey.
Okay.
But,
I don't even think the character talked, to be honest. Did?
She said trash once, I think.
I think you're right, yeah.
But we'll
have to...
That's a mystery we'll find later. Add it in the comments if you...
Yeah. That's it was a great movie. It was, from what I understand, the box office was quote unquote disappointing, still making over $100 million.
I think it was disappointing in the way that like Solo was, where it's like it's not making as much money as we wanted.
Well, it's actually interesting because every animated film that's been released this year has had a disappointing box office from every studio.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, Missing Link.
Everything. Yeah. Missing Link, Secret Life of Pets 2, How to Train Your Dragon, like they were all very disappointing box office. Some of them, Wonder Park bombed miserably. So it's been a rough year for animation, which is a weird thing to say, but also I kind of feel like about time, because there was a period of time where it was the complete opposite. If it was an animated movie, it was making tons of money. Mm-hmm. I just think there's too many of them at this point. Maybe not too many, but a lot. Mm-hmm. So people, instead of saying, oh, there's an animated movie, let me bring my kids, it's I now have options. Mm-hmm. Which one do I bring them to?
Yeah, the market is saturated for sure.
Yeah. So but overall, I really enjoyed the movie. It's great. Certainly nothing to worry about as far as is this going to ruin the original three. No, it's a great movie with great characters. The new characters are wonderful. The old ones are fantastic to revisit. Mm-hmm. And I had a fun time with it.
I'm probably going to see it again.
Yeah.
Someone said that...
I do want to... I kept wondering, should I watch the original trilogy? Because I haven't seen them in a while. Mm-hmm. Should I watch them again right before going? And I was like, I don't think I need to. After seeing it, I was like, I kind of want to do that now.
We watched Toy Story 3. We did a little marathon where we watched 1 and 2 back to back, and it was amazing how all of the callbacks, and you're just like, ooh, and like lines and looks and little musical motifs. And I thought about doing the 8-hour marathon that they had. I think El Capitan did.
Oh, okay.
Where they had the first 3 and then it went right into 4, and I was like, maybe.
Yeah.
I was
here's the thing. I love those types of marathons, and I would be willing to do that at like an AMC recliner seat.
Yes.
The El Capitan, as wonderful an experience that theater is, and if you ever come to Hollywood, you should go to the El Capitan. It's a Disney-owned theater in Hollywood across the street from the Chinese theater, and they always play Disney movies with like special added bonuses. Definitely do it. Totally worth it. But they are traditional live theater seats, like going to a stage show. Sitting in something like that for 8+ hours, not comfortable. So that's the downfall with the marathon at the El Cap. But yeah, it would. I think I might do that because let's face it, it's going to be in theaters for a while. Mm-hmm. So I think maybe in a month or so I'll sit down and watch the first 3 and then go back and see it again because it was a lot of fun. Well, I think that means...
It's trivia time!
Cool, do you want to hit me with a trivia question first, or shall I hit you?
Hit me.
Okay. My trivia question, there's a great scene, as we talked about, Woody is a bit of a forgotten toy, and there's a scene toward the beginning of the film where he gets left in the closet, where Bonnie takes out a bunch of her toys to play with. Woody gets left in the closet with a bunch of other older toys. And they did this really wonderful thing where they brought a lot of older actors... They had a lot of older actors perform these roles. Can you name 4 of the actors I'm thinking of who did voice? One is very noticeable. I was like, oh, it's...
I feel like I kind of cheated because I was skimming through IMDb, but in the theater I recognized Mel Brooks was I was like, oh, hey, Mel Brooks.
Mel Brooks.
Carl Reiner.
Carl Reiner. Yep.
Betty White. She just cuts through anything, and he did. And then...
another iconic comedic female actress who... had her own show.
Carol Burnett.
It's Carol Burnett, yes. So they are the forgotten toys in the closet, which I thought was like a really great touch. And as I was researching that, I didn't realize that the brilliant, whom I adore, Laurie Metcalf, is the voice of Andy's mom.
Oh.
I didn't know that. And from the beginning, I was like, oh, is that just new? I love Laurie Metcalf. So that's kind of fun, too. In any case, that was my trivia question. So you did pretty well.
I passed the test.
Yes.
While I was on the way up, I was listening, as you do when you drive to LA, I was listening to a podcast. I was listening to Malton on Movies, where they were interviewing Don Hahn, and they were talking about the
I haven't listened to that one yet, so maybe I won't know it.
Okay. They were talking about before Elton John was tapped to do the music for The Lion King, which artists were potentially going to write the music for.
This wasn't U2, was it?
I think a little poppier, a little more Greek.
ABBA.
Yeah,
ABBA was going to write music for The Lion King?
They were saying that they were like, this was like very, very early in the process, and they were just like, I was like, wow, I wonder what that music would have been like.
That would have been weird. I don't think it would.
I don't know if it would have been as successful.
I don't know if it would have been a Broadway show. I mean, we got Mamma Mia, but woo.
Now, I'd like to add that I know that I gave him the hint of Greek, and I know that they are, in fact, Swedish, but I think he gave him the good.
Yes, that was the clue for me. So I don't know much about ABBA other than, in fact, is it ABBA or ABBA? I don't even know which is appropriate. But all I know is Mamma Mia. That's
so
it.
Musical theater.
That's so funny. Cool. Well, there's the trivia question. Why don't you let folks know where they can find you and your Pizza Planet truck?
You can find us at pizzaplanetruck.com, on Instagram at Pizza Planet Truck, and on Twitter at Pizza Plane Truck, because Pizza Planet Truck is one letter too long.
Oh, that's so annoying.
It's Pizza Planet Ruck or Pizza Plane Truck, and I think Pizza Plane Truck.
I would have gone with pizza with one Z.
Pizza
Planet Truck?
Pizza Planet Truck.
I don't know. That's so annoying, though. That's why ours is Disney CTC, because Disney Coast to Coast is too long. So, but okay, cool. So, folks, you should go check him out there. Thank you so much for coming on to talk about Toy Story 4. I know you're super busy. And hopefully you'll be back soon to talk about your top secret New York City mission.
Yes.
That'll be fantastic. Folks, head over to DisneyCoastToCoast.com and sign up to get your list of America's hidden Mickeys featuring lesser-known Disney destinations around the USA. All you got to do is go to DisneyCoastToCoast.com, click on free gift there, and you can get your list. Other than that, folks, have a magical day. Bye!
Thanks for listening to Disney Coast to Coast. Have a magical day.
Disney Coast to Coast is produced and hosted by Jeff DePauli. Learn more about the podcast and become a supporter at DisneyCoastToCoast.com.